Warning, I'm just having fun with old cars. I hope you get some tips and a good laugh from watching, but don't do what I do on your projects. We're going to start cutting on this thing today. Before I do that, I'm going to get my stuff out. I'm actually going to yank the front clip off the truck, and then I'll show you what we're going to be working on today. Come on! Okay, I'm back, and there's no front end on the truck, so I got a little carried away doing stuff I didn't need to be doing. Like, I took the clutch cylinder and slave cylinder and reservoir off, because obviously I'm not putting a clutch back in this thing. If you're new, if this is a new video for you, somewhere back there, I don't know if I'm pointing at it, is a power glide that's going to go in this thing. I got to figure out the wiring, which is going to be a whole nother video probably. But for today, I'm going to show you what we're doing and how I plan on doing it. And then I got to get to work because I got to lay out a bunch of stuff and do a bunch of cutting and welding and I don't know why I'm explaining that. Anyway, let me show you what I got. Okay, so here's the engine bay, and I've got a few things I'd like to get done in this video, but the most important is this cross member right here. If you have experience with these or you've done any research, everybody notches these back here for the oil pan. That is actually not what I'm going to be doing. I actually bought some, this is actually 1 3/4. I really wanted 1 5/8, 120 wall tubing. That's a little bigger, it'll be fine. But I'm actually gonna cut this whole thing out, and we'll plate the sides and then put that tube in, make a new cross member. I think it will look better, and I think we'll have more room, and I just think it'll be better. That's my preference. Also, we'll go ahead and change these motor mounts because I have new ones. These ones are junk, so we'll get that done. I've kind of capped everything off, including the fuel lines. I think I'm going to end up using the factory fuel lines. I also had to move this brake line. I just kind of bent it out of the way. Hopefully I don't have to completely redo it, but if I do, I will. It's not that big a deal. But so first thing I gotta do is I'll probably set you guys up, and I'm gonna start laying out a bunch of measurements on the front of this, and then once I get cut lines figured out, we gotta brace it, and then so on and so forth. So instead of just talking about it, I'm just going to start working. Okay, it's me again. I'm back, and as you may have seen in the time lapse, uh, I kind of got my measurements laid out for where I'm gonna cut this thing. Um, I ended up using. I have this little Bosch laser level thingy majigger, and I ended up using that to lay everything out because there's no square surfaces anywhere really, which makes it kind of difficult. But um, I'm pretty sure I was able to get. I only marked the front and the top side. Um, what I believe I'm gonna do is cut that section off, and then probably set the laser back up and mark the inside of the bottom. Uh, or at least use the laser as a guide for cutting the inside of the bottom. And that way I don't have to try and lay underneath it, because I don't want to do that. I also kind of want to leave it sitting on its weight. So basically, the next thing I gotta do is I'm gonna throw some braces on it, and that way, because if you just cut it out with no braces, then the frame is gonna go wherever it feels like, and that would not be good. So I'm gonna show you this real quick, and then I'm gonna start cutting some scrap up that I can weld on here, and kind of try and hold everything in place the best I can. So let me spin you around. So my setup is not the most professional, but it got the job done, I think. Oh, I just moved my laser beam. Anyway, it's not, doesn't really matter. If this is not perfect, it'll be fine. I can kind of smooth it out. Once I get it cut and get the plates ready to go on, I can kind of touch it up and make sure it's good, but this should get me pretty close. So basically what I did, I found the center of this, and then I actually found the center of this hole and laid my first tape mark. Well, actually I used those. I made a point here, a point here, and a point here, and used that to set my laser. And then once I did that, I decided how far out I was gonna go, which I ended up doing. I'm gonna take 9 inches out of the center of it. It kind of seemed like that would keep me away from too much of the suspension stuff. I also measured the oil pan, and it's about 8.5 inches, so I should have a ton of room, is what that should amount to. Because usually people just notch this, just so the pan will drop behind there, mainly when you're putting it in and out. And we're gonna have a piece of tubing that'll be down here in the front edge, so we should have plenty of room there. But yeah, I used that center line and measured 4.5 inches out, and I made at least 3 marks on each side. I think I actually did more than that, but I made multiple marks so that I could take and line my laser up on those marks. And the laser gives me a line here and a line down. I kind of screwed up right here, but that was my fault. So that gave me those measurements that I needed, and I was able to, I taped it, but I also marked it with marker, because the tape will probably come off. So that will get me at least that top section. I'll end up having to probably, I don't know, I'll have to do something here. I'll have to maybe cut this off and then just section off that top part. That way I can get to the inside, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah. So like I said, I'm going to find some scrap I can cut up and make some cross braces that I can get tacked on there pretty good. They need to be pretty stout. And yeah, once I do that, I'll kind of show you those, how I'm going to put them on there, and then we'll start cutting, hopefully. I put a brace across there. That's where the rear mount for the lower control arms is, and I just put a little stitch across there and across there. I also put one here on the bottom side. It's kind of weaved through there. And then I put this big piece, I put it across the front. So basically I wanted to have support on the top and the bottom, because you don't just have to worry about them springing in and out. You also got to worry about them twisting when you're cutting all the support out of it. There's not even a trans cross member in this thing, so I believe having those where they're at, it should hold it perfectly fine. Like I said, they're gonna make it a little bit harder to get in there and cut, but as long as the frame stays exactly where it's supposed to be, I'll find a way around it. So that's kind of the update for now. Like I said, I'm gonna take a little break for a minute and fulfill my empty belly, and we'll come back and start slicing and dicing this thing. Alright, I'm back. My belly's full, and it's time to start cutting on this rig. So I'm gonna get to work. You guys just hang out like normal. Well, I got it cut out, as you saw in the time lapse. I guess I'll show you, because why not? That's the leftovers. We don't need those anymore. There's I threw some black paint on there because just to try and protect the inside there a little bit. I want to end up cleaning all this up and painting it, but yeah, I'm not gonna. I gotta get this project done first before I can do any of that. So I did end up. You can probably see the jacks under there. I did end up taking the weight off the front end for two reasons. For one, it's probably overthinking it, but I started getting nervous about it moving. So I actually did add another brace by the upper control arms, and then I got the weight off the front end, so the springs weren't trying to tweak the frame in any direction. The good news is, once I got cut all the way through on the Crossmember. There was no big spring, or it didn't pinch together, nothing crazy like that. So it would appear as though nothing's moved. I checked my measurement also. I have exactly, well, within a 16th all the way around the cut of 9 inches, which is about as good as you can ask for the way I had to cut it and stuff, because I'm sure my cuts aren't perfectly straight. So now we got that all knocked out, I'm actually going to work on changing the motor mounts, and I'll show you why I'm going to do that now instead of waiting, because, well, I'll just show you. So it's a known problem on these trucks, but the only way to get to the back of these bolts where the nut is basically take the lower control arm out and go through the access that will give you. I don't want to do that. So while I've got this open, I think I can reach up in there with a wrench and hold the nut on the back side of these. These do not have a captured nut or anything on the back. So I'd like to switch them out. What I'm thinking about doing, I haven't quite decided yet. It's going to depend on what I have here at the house or what the nuts look like that are on this. I may weld the nuts to the Crossmember, and that way these you can just zip them off and you don't have to worry about this anymore. Otherwise, even on this side, a lot of people access them where the fuel lines are, but you gotta pull the fuel lines out to access it. So if I can make it where the nuts are attached to the Crossmember and then you just zip these on and off, long run that will be way easier. So that's kind of my game plan for right now. I'm gonna do that, and then once I get those swapped out, I'm going to go ahead and we'll start fabbing up plates for to cap the frame off, and then we just got to make our Crossmember and weld it all in, and then all that's left is brake line after that to figure out. So we're moving right along, so stay tuned. Okay, so we're gonna do something a little different here. I'm tired of putting music on the video, so I'm just gonna talk over it. So I was able to get the motor mounts changed like I wanted to. It was still a pain in the neck. As you can see, my hand barely fits in there, but we were able to get it done, and I'll kind of cover later what I ended up doing there. I think it worked out pretty good, but I decided to jump straight into making templates and cutting out the filler panels to go in uh, the openings, I guess you would call it. I didn't spend too much time recording on this because you guys have probably seen a ton of people use cardboard to make templates, so it's not really anything new. I did, however, once I got done making templates, get to break out my new bandsaw. This thing actually ended up working out quite well. I'm pretty happy with it. Even though it's all from Harbor Freight, it seemed to work out very well, and it's relatively small, which is good for me because I have to store it somewhere in between uses. But we got both plates cut out. I moved over to the truck, started kind of cleaning things up and final fitting everything. My cuts were not perfect, but right about here is where my phone overheats and shuts off. Okay, what is up? Welcome back. I have skipped ahead. Um, my phone shut off because it overheated because it's that time of day where the sun is beating into the carport. Um, so I think the last thing on there, I was cleaning up the caps I made for the frame, kind of making sure they fit. So while my phone was cooling down and charging, uh, I got those tacked in, and I actually crawled under and welded the bottom and the back side of it. Um, I did end up deciding to TIG weld these mainly because I'm out of MIG welding wire, but also I think it's gonna look nicer. So I'll kind of show you where those are at right now, and then I'll try and find a shaded place to put you guys, and finish welding these out. And then we just gotta put our support in, maybe a little gusset. We may wait on doing a gusset until the motor's in so I know how much space I have. But yeah, let me show you this, and then I'm gonna get back under the hood and keep welding on this thing. So uh, here. Okay, so it's kind of hard to see with the glare, but there's that side and there's that side. They fit up pretty decent. I don't know if you guys can see the welds on the back and the bottom are pretty hard to get to. I had to do them from underneath, so they're not the best, but they're gonna work. And yeah, so pretty much what I got left to do is I gotta weld the top side and the front side of each of those. And then one other thing I did that I hadn't showed yet is these are the motor mount bolts and the nuts that were on it. I took and I opened the holes up until this fits in there just right. And I'm actually gonna, once I get done welding down here, oh, I dropped one, it's fine, just grab a different one. I'm actually going to weld, I'm gonna put a couple tacks on the shoulder of that nut, and it'll stay on the frame. It will raise the motor mount, whatever that distance is, probably not even a 1/16. But they're rubber motor mounts, so I should have some wiggle room. So that's the plan for those, so that by doing that, I'll never have to mess with reaching in there and trying to hold those nuts, because it was a pain in the butt. I would imagine even with the control arm out, it would still be a pain in the butt. So yeah, I'm gonna set you guys up and get back to work, and we'll knock this deal out. It's only not in the sun spot that might be able to see anything. So good luck. So I am not the best welder there is. I'm actually pretty far from it, but I was able to get in there and get some pretty good welds put down. They don't look the best. They're not Instagram welds, but they're definitely going to be strong. And you definitely have to get creative when you're welding on something like a car where you gotta get in between all this stuff in weird positions. Just like you're about to see me run the pedal with my knee right now. It ain't pretty, but she's welded. Okay. Like I said, it's not the prettiest, but it's welded. That whatever. The metal's kind of garbage. I'm kind of garbage. And what other excuse? I don't TIG weld a lot, and I have to wear glasses so I can't see that well. The floor's dirty. The sun was in my eyes. Yeah, I don't know. That's all the excuses I got. But I think it'll be just fine. It's plenty strong enough for what we're doing. And next step is I'm gonna measure that and cut a tube, and we'll fit that in and start welding. Yay. Okay, I'm not doing a great job of filming stuff this afternoon because I want to be able to roll this truck around by this evening, and it is 6 o'clock, and my wife will be on her way home soon, so I gotta get this deal wrapped up sooner rather than later. So I've got my tube cut and fit in there. It took a little bit of fitting to get it in there. I have a little bit of a gap I'm not too happy with, but it's gonna be fine. Good enough for who it's for, I guess, is kind of becoming my mantra. But I'll show it to you, and then I'm gonna get it welded in, and then I may go ahead and cut these braces off after that and call it a day because I am tired. But yeah, let me show you this, and I'm gonna get to welding. So can you see? There's my bar. I think I said earlier it's 1.75" 120 wall. Pretty heavy duty stuff. Some of you will notice that the level is not level, but I leveled it off of this because that's run flat across the frame rails. So I just made it match this, and it'll be plenty close enough. There's not really a good place to get a level on the frame, but that's how it's gonna look. You can see how much room, how much oil pan room we're gonna have. I'm gonna have to do something with that brake line, but that'll be an issue for the next video probably, because once I would like to add some kind of gusset, maybe here and or here, but I don't want to do any of that till I know where the oil pan's gonna end up. So that's that, and I'm gonna get to welding. And just like that, the voice in your head is back, and this time I'm watching myself try to weld this and screw it all up. I got in too much of a hurry. I should have just waited and done this the next day or whenever I had time, but I didn't, and it's welded, it's solid, it's not going anywhere, but profile wise the weld's definitely suffered. So after I talk some more, you're gonna see it right now. Okay, I think the last thing I videoed was welding that Crossmember tube in, which was a pain in the butt just trying to get in there, but I got it welded, and I went ahead and tacked those nuts in for the motor mounts. So and I also threw some paint on it. I didn't film that stuff because honestly my phone's about to die, and my wife's gonna be home in like 15 minutes, and I don't know if you guys can see the disaster that I have going on in here, so I've got to get cleaned up for the day. It's kind of a bad part about my current work situation is I can't leave stuff out overnight. All this stuff's got to get put up tonight. So, yeah, I'm gonna show you what that Crossmember looks like and all that stuff, and then we'll wrap this deal up. The next video, we're gonna probably clean and paint the frame rails and maybe tackle the wiring, I think is what I'm gonna do next. But let me show you this so we can both get out of here and get on with our evening. Hang on. So here it is. Like I said, I threw some black paint on it just because I didn't want it to sit and rust. I still gotta clean all this stuff up, and like I said, next video we'll paint all of that, just to make it look kind of uniform. But maybe you can see I just fusion welded those nuts to the Crossmember, so now they are attached to the truck, which should make putting motor mounts on nice and simple. So pretty happy about that deal. I think that's gonna work out just fine. And then you know, when your welds don't look good, you just put some black paint on them, and they look halfway decent. So yeah, that's how that came out. I'm actually super happy with it. It's gonna be perfect for what I wanted, and I think it's more aesthetically pleasing than having a section of the original Crossmember and having to cut and plate it and all that stuff. Plus, it saves you from having to do all your welding on the backside, even though you still gotta do some. But anyway, I don't know if you guys can see me because of the sun, but that's it. That was a lot of work, but I think it's gonna be worth it in the end. I'm very happy with how that came out, and we're probably, the next video we're gonna prep and paint. Like I said, I already said what I'm gonna do in the next video. I'm not gonna say it again, but the video after that, it should be ready to test fit the motor in it. I got a couple things to decide before then, like if I'm gonna try and keep the AC stuff in it just in case I feel like adding it later. And I got wiring to figure out, but we are not far from swinging a motor in this thing. So I appreciate anyone who's watched this far into this video. Some of this stuff is not the most exciting work, but I will say I looked and I could not find a video on somebody doing the tube Crossmember like that. And I know people do it. I've seen pictures of it, but nobody seems to have a video on it. So in my opinion, as long as you got scrap laying around that you can make, brace it up with, I don't think it's any harder than it would be to cut and plate that frame, in my opinion. So something to think about if you're building one of these. Might be worth the little bit of extra time to have that nice look. At least I think it's nice. So anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. I know I don't sound excited right now, but that's because I'm tired and the sun is wearing me out. But I'm not complaining. We got some stuff done today, and I will see you next week when we're getting more stuff done. Come on. Appreciate you watching. Don't forget, like and subscribe. See you on the next one.